Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Next up, we have Travis Wright, Director of Product Management at Cireson, who will be speaking on automating IT with custom process and controls. Travis spent 11 years at Microsoft as Principal Program Manager, innovating and managing the development of Systems Center, especially Operations Manager and Service Manager. Heavily engaged in the Systems Center community, Travis can be found on the Systems Center forums, writing blog posts, books, and speaking at major industry events. Please put your hands together for Travis Wright.
All right. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're enjoying Systems Center Universe Asia. This is my first trip to Asia. It's been quite an experience, and I'm glad that I was able to come to Malaysia as my first trip to Asia. It's a fantastic place. Had really great food while we've been here. It's been awesome. So thank you for the introduction. I also want to introduce my co-presenter, IT Monkey. Everybody get an IT Monkey? This guy's awesome. He's the director of fun at Cireson. So he puts the fun in our business. I hope you guys get an IT Monkey for you at home. He's really not much help during a presentation, but he does put some fun into it. So, all right. So what I'd like to talk about today is just how we can automate our IT processes, but do so in a way where we can have full control over our process. So we want to automate things as much as possible, of course, but there's certain processes that need to be followed, and it's different with every company. And so today I want to talk about how we can do that. So to begin with, earlier today, Nigel Kane from Microsoft spoke about the Windows Azure Pack. And one of the things he tried to point out there is how Microsoft has converged all of their different cloud strategies now into what they call the Cloud OS. And so if you kind of go back through the history of things, they had the Cloud OS, they had the private cloud, which came with System Center 2012, and they had Azure going. And then now they're trying to bring all of that together into one cohesive system that they call the Cloud OS. And basically a key part of that is the Windows Azure Pack, which brings a lot of the Windows Azure services and the portals and things like that to run on-premise in your data center. Or if you're a service provider, you can use that technology platform to offer infrastructure as a service to your customers. And that way there's a consistent cloud platform that runs in the public cloud with Windows Azure, a private hosted cloud scenario like with a service provider, or a private cloud on-premise in your data center. So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on that today, but I do want to kind of zero in on how Windows Azure Pack works and what some of the capabilities of it are. So one of the things you can do with Windows Azure Pack is you can set up an IIS web server farm, and you can have people subscribe to subscriptions for provisioning websites onto this IIS web server farm. So somebody can come up, they can say, I want a website, and they give it the website a name, and it gets provisioned somewhere in that IIS web server farm. The next scenario is databases. So with Windows Azure Pack, you can offer people a subscription to provision databases on a managed SQL Server fabric or on MySQL. So somebody can come up and just say, I want a database. Boom, here's your database. Okay. Next scenario is Service Bus. So Service Bus is a messaging infrastructure that's provided as part of Windows Azure, and it allows applications to talk to each other through this messaging service. And that's a component that was started in Windows Azure and now runs on-premise as part of Windows Azure Pack. The next scenario is one of the most common ones, which is virtual machines. So you can set up Hyper-V clusters, and then somebody can come in, they can request a virtual machine. That virtual machine gets provisioned on one of those Hyper-V clusters, and the customer gets access to it. And lastly is virtual networks. So somebody can create a virtual network to create isolation within the physical network between the virtual machines and on-premise infrastructure as well. So these are some of the capabilities that Windows Azure Pack provides. On top of Windows Azure Pack, there's an API layer called the Service Management API. It's a web service interface. And then on top of that, Windows Azure Pack provides two portals. One for administrators to administer Windows Azure Pack. So for example, they're adding SQL servers into the cluster, adding Hyper-V servers